So this game and book is called Katie's Fortress, and this one is about a little girl who has social anxiety, and she loves her fortress. She feels safe, she feels secure whenever she is in her fortress, and she doesn't want to leave. And so we've got the formulations of somebody with agoraphobia here. And when she does leave, shows her going down to the village, and she is wearing her armor. She's like, you can't touch me, you can't hurt me. I am hiding in here so I don't have to deal with people. And she's just a nervous wreck. She really does not like having to go down to the village at all. But she notices when she goes to the village that these kids are playing. They're having a great time, and they don't seem nervous. They don't seem to be scared that something terrible might happen to them. And so she's thinking about it. She's like, what's going on with that? Why? How is it that they feel so safe and secure, and I'm over here a nervous wreck? And she's questioning, is her fortress really needed? I mean, does she need these walls up around her to make her feel safe? And so she's thinking about, what's going to happen if she leaves her armor behind to go down and face the people. And so she decides at the end of the book, you know what, I'm lonely and I want to have relationships. I want to know what it's like to play and really engage with other people without all these fears. And so she recognizes that what happened with the kids is that they found confidence and security in relationship, and they could count on each other to be there for them. So they didn't have to be scared. And so it was that thought that was holding her captive. The thought that she was only safe in her fortress, or she was only safe with her armor on. She had to break free from those thoughts in order to get free to where she was willing to go down into the village. And so once she finally did go down into the village, she was able to play with the other kids and enjoy her time. And so the cards really talk about a lot. I mean, this is really heavy cognitive behavioral skill stuff, but I mean, that's really what's necessary to break free from anxiety. So all the cards are kind of focused on that. And building self-confidence is part of it. Like, what is something that others like about you? What is something you like about yourself? And because, kids that have social anxiety, it can be for a lot of different reasons. It might be that they've experienced trauma and they're afraid that somebody's going to do something to them. It could be that they're insecure with who they are and they don't want to be rejected by people. They don't know how to present themselves to other people. They're scared of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. They don't want to be embarrassed. So there's a lot of different reasons why a kid might have social anxiety. And so the questions kind of hit from different angles to help identify what is the cause of this child's social anxiety, and what is it that they need to do to break free from it. And once you can figure out what that thought is, or that belief that is causing them to feel so insecure, then you have something to work with as far as how to overcome that and how to argue against those thoughts and to develop new self-talk so that they can feel more comfortable. And so the barrel is kind of like an obstacle. Like, what is your obstacle for why you're not wanting to go to town, or why you don't want to be seen by other kids or other people? And it might be crowds. Some people might be fine if there's one or two people, but whenever there's a crowd of people, they don't want to go around. And part of that might be tied back to personality. And that's not something to feel embarrassed about or shameful about if it's a personality driven thing. And so that's important to note as well. And so the blanket is kind of like a safe place, a comfort. So those kind of address that. And then the bush is kind of like, if you could hide behind a bush, like what would it be like to be around other people, but to be able to hide to where you're not feeling that insecurity of being vulnerable. And then the bird kind of represents, if you were free from your anxiety, what would life look like? And so these questions kind of cover that topic a little bit. And the armor is, you kind of have two different sides of it. My perspective is you always want to stay on the road and out of the ditch. And so armor is one of those things that it can make you feel safe. It can make you feel empowered. And it can be a great coping skill on one hand, but then if you can't get free from your armor and your armor ends up being a cage to where you can't, function, then you got to get free from it. So tell a time when armor would be necessary versus when it's not necessary. And so it's kind of helping kids get back on the road, I guess would be the way of putting it, as far as, there might be times where you do need to put up a guard against other people, that there might be people that you shouldn't trust. And how do you know who you can trust and who you can't trust? And so, of course, we want to help kids break free from anxiety, but we also don't want them to be foolish and be sitting ducks to be taken advantage of by people. So, and it does seem like there's a tendency for kids, especially the more shy kids, it might be a perpetrator that really approaches them because they might be an easy target. And so, but of course, that's not something that we're just going to throw out and make their anxiety even worse. So, so talking through those things is something that can be really helpful for them, and finding ways of, how do you put yourself out there? How do you find the safe people? And then the castle or the fortress talks about her safe place. Like, tell about your safe place. How can other people make you feel safe? And then the kids represent, what are the benefits of the relationship? And whenever you're sitting in your fortress all the time, what are you missing out on? And and so for some kids, they might just want to have somebody to play with at recess, and they might want nothing to do with people the rest of the day. And if that's what they're after, that might be the goal. Other kids really want to have a social life, but their anxiety is just holding them back. And so for every kid, the answer might be different. So so these questions kind of help you identify what is the goal that we're working towards. And so this is the game board. And there's a player. Okay. So you're going to start up here at the top, and then this one's kind of a wind your way around to the fortress game. And so anyway, and the way it works is you always just draw a card no matter what you land on, and then some of the questions will send you to different spots. Like it might say, a card might say you move to the fortress on the board, and then you'll just move down here to this spot. And so anyway, this one's a good one for kids that are struggling with that social anxiety. It is a very tight niche kind of group of kids, but it can be absolutely debilitating for them. And so this one's all about helping them break free and to be able to overcome those hurdles that are holding them back. And so I think there's a lot of kids that can probably identify with Katie and her story, and you can kind of carry that metaphor forward and help them find ways that they have used armor in their lives, and ways that they have, they probably don't live in a castle on a hill, but they might have a little fortress of where they want to hide out to avoid social situations. And it might be ways to help them conceptualize what it would look like to come out of that hole. Thanks.